So the first season of Year 9 is being teased on the Rainbow Six Siege Twitter account. And then shortly after the Invitational, we'll learn everything that is coming in Year 9. So in this video, I want to talk about some ideas that I hope Ubisoft will implement in this year of content. So starting with one of the obvious ones, let's talk about a new anti-cheat. If you played Siege for more than 2 minutes, then you understand how bad Battle Eye really is as an anti-cheat. Now, to give a little bit of credit, apparently during the beginning of this season, Operation Deep Freeze, apparently Battle Eye was just not even on at all, so cheaters could just run rampant. But even with the anti-cheat on, it doesn't seem to detect the most obvious cheats known to man. Like how a defender could fly straight to the skybox on the map and just aimbot you, or even Flores being able to stick his Flores drones onto you, and no matter where you go, you will die. And what annoys me the most about this whole thing is that there's actually cheaters in rank that has 100 plus KD, but legit players who got a 15 KD because in their first like 10 games they did really well, they get banned, but not the 100 KD ones. People have stated that the anti-cheat in Valorant, Vanguard, is pretty good and something like that should be implemented into Siege, but I still have a feeling of how creative cheaters can be in this game that they will find workarounds to it. I do think it will negate a lot of the cheats. Out of all the things that Ubisoft needs to focus on for Siege, I think a better anti-cheat or a better workaround to cheats is the most important thing they should work on. Now, I won't hold out hope for this fact, but in Year 8, I will admit, we had some very unique operators. While I think Brava and Ram are the weakest out of the bunch, I think they are very fun in their own right. Like, I think Brava being able to hack some of the defender's utility is very fun to play with, and while Ram isn't the best soft breacher, I think she is one of the most fun, especially with the R4C, but she's definitely the easiest to play out of all of them. But the defenders this year have been completely game-changing. I still think Tibral is pretty busted even after losing one of the gadgets. I think he still needs a little bit of tuning there. However, I think Fenrir is one of the best operators they have ever released, period. Because yes, he is a trap operator, but he's not someone like Capcan where you just place down your traps and just forget about it. No, he has to actively be using his gadget in order to get the most out of it. He also comes with the MP7, which is one of my favorite SMGs in the game, and I know a lot of people also like that gun. He also comes with Bailiff, so he can help with sight, rotates, or setups in general, and he's overall just fun to play. So the point I'm trying to make here is I would like more operators like Fenrir, and by extension, Azami. And I understand people want Azami and Fenrir to be nerfed, and I agree, I do think they need some tunings here and there, but I want more operators to where you have to think about where you're placing your gadgets and incentivize more creative play. Because almost 2 years later of Azami being in the game, we are still learning angles with her Kiba barriers, and that is so fun to learn and use in-game. And she is just, again, a generally fun operator to play. So if Ubisoft can try to incentivize people to use Defender's gadgets and somehow implement a concept like Azami into an attacker, I think we'll be in a pretty good year for operators. And as a side note, they should delete Solus from the game completely. Now, this is kind of a follow-up to the last point, but for every new operator from here on out, I would love to see one new primary option for guns. Now, I understand for legal reasons they can't get the actual guns in the game, like I'm pretty sure Visual's K1A is an actual gun in real life, but they had to call it the K1A so they can actually put it into the game. But Ubisoft has already kind of worked around this because operators like Sens and Thorn have completely made up guns, like Sens' POF9 is not real at all. And you can see with Thorn's UZK, it's loosely based off an Uzi, however, it shoots 50 caliber rounds. Which I only recently found out that there is actually full auto Desert Eagles that do shoot 50 caliber rounds, but there isn't an AR or let alone an SMG or an Uzi that shoots 50 caliber. So this allows Ubisoft to make new guns to put into the game because let's be honest, this game's not realistic at all. So hypothetically, we could get an AR that shoots 12 gauge for whatever reason. I don't know why they would ever make something like that, but fuck it, why not? It would also just be nice and refreshing to see some new guns in the game again. Another thing is something I've talked about before, and it's basically just an entire attachment rework. Basically, every primary option that isn't a shotgun will go up to a 2.5 scope, which would mean they also have a 2x and a 1.5. And then the 1x optics would get buffed at the same time, giving them an ADS bonus if you equip them. So if you equip the angled grip and have a 1x optic, it will basically revert the nerf that happened a few years ago. However, it's a little bit more balanced nowadays because you won't have the 1.5, for example, in a fast ADS speed. At the same time, Ubisoft would likely nerf the 1.5 on how they would do it. I'm not sure whether they make it visually more ugly or maybe make it a 1.75. I don't know. Now, I hate to be bikini body here, but they should revert their Quick Match 2.0 changes. Now, people are obviously going to say, well, they should change Rank 2.0 as well, and I agree. I think Rank 2.0 needs some tweaks here and there, but I do legitimately think that Quick Match 2.0 is so harmful for the game. Basically, the main thing that needs to be changed in Quick Match is the pre-setups. because there is some sites in the game to where there are 7 reinforcements already set up, and it's basically a gamble if the setup is already good or not. And let's say you already have a site that has a lot of the reinforcements down, newer players are not going to know where to place these reinforcements, so they're probably just not going to reinforce at all. A basic mechanic in the game is reinforcing, and if the game doesn't teach you how to do that, or how to properly do that at least, they're not going to do it at all. And there is a potential chance that they try to mimic these setups into ranked lobbies, and knowing this community, that's going to go a very toxic route. So for Quick Match alone, they just need to completely revert the changes and go back to Quick Match 1.0. At least with Rank 2.0, I think there is some saving there, potentially. Like, they could do some simple changes that would make the ranked experience a lot better, and I think they can just keep standard the same because it's just ranked with one less round. Now, I think this would take a lot of development time for Ubisoft, but I think there should be a quote-unquote COD Zombies mode for Siege. Or we can sum it up as a third mode for Siege, and what I mean by that is kind of have a PvE casual experience that people can hop in with their friends and play. And this might be a good way to re-add Terrorist Hunt and make it more like a Spec Ops mission from like the older Modern Warfare games. That's kind of what Article 5 already was, and a lot of people did like it, and that was one of the things that they missed when Terrorist Hunt did go away. That was also one of the few ways to play Bartlett U, which was the only map that was actually removed entirely from Siege, so this might be another way to re-implement it in a PvE mode. This is sort of a follow-up to the last one, but what if there was more arcade game modes in Siege? Like, what if there was a gun game or an affected mode that you could play? And if you remember or don't know already, we actually did have 2 of those modes in the game, sort of. The second iteration of Mute Protocol was basically just a gun game on tower. And right before Rainbow Six Extraction came out, they did a crossover event in Siege called Containment. The defenders were only the zombies, and when the attackers died, they just spectate, and they didn't even turn to zombies. So make it more like a regular infected mode that you've seen in other games, and I think it would be a really fun mode. More arcade modes in general would be a welcome change and would make the casual experience for Siege a lot better. What I would really like to see this year is more impactful changes to balancing. Sure, we get some pretty good buffs like the Grim rework, and we get some pretty bad changes like all the nerfs that happen to Nook for some reason. But then we get changes like the SMG-11 damage nerf, which it went from 35 damage to 32. And that change was so hated that it actually got trending on Twitter at one point. And here's the funny part about that. The TTK on the SMG-11 did not change at all. Now, in terms of viability, I think every operator is viable and you can bring them at some point or another. Now, there are some operators that I do think need straight up nerfs like Solace, but I would like to see a lot more operator buffs this year rather than nerfs. Now, a lot of people were upset with the Consulate rework because they already thought the map was good enough, and if anything, it needed some map buffs. Now, personally, if you ask me, I fucking hated that map, and I hope any code left of the original Consulate is out of the game by now. But that's not the point. I actually do like the idea of more maps getting just simple map buffs. Because back in Operation Crystal Guard, Bank, Coastline, and Clubhouse all received small but impactful changes. Clubhouse didn't really get that many changes compared to the other two, but Bank and Coastline are now some of my favorite maps in the game. Doing this to a few of the maps will make them a lot better and more fun to play. Because in all honesty, if they just did a few simple changes to City and Bravo, it actually would have been a good map. And I think that's why they should do some more map buffs. People have been complaining about map ends since the beginning of time. Whether they're talking about they don't want to learn the new maps, they want to play the same maps. Honestly, I'm just tired of hearing about it. So instead of just completely removing the system, I think they should rework the map bans into a map picking system. How this new system would work is, at the beginning of the map pick phase, there will also be 5 maps that you can choose. So here's an example. Let's say you get Theme Park, Nighthaven Labs, Emerald Plains, Clubhouse, and Oregon. Let's say the attacker chooses Theme Park and the defenders chooses Nighthaven. Here's where some different ideas can appear. My original idea was whatever 2 maps were chosen, one of those maps would be played that game. So in the next example, it would be Theme Park or Nighthaven Labs. An idea my friend had is that it would keep Theme Park and Nighthaven Labs because both those teams chose those maps, but an additional 3rd map would be placed with them. So it would be Theme Park, Nighthaven Labs, and potentially one of the maps that were in that original pool, like Oregon, or a completely new map, like Cafe Dostoevsky, will also be in that queue to be played that game. This would fix a lot of problems because there are times where maybe you just want to play Clubhouse, and now you have a greater chance of playing Clubhouse because you picked it. Or maybe you want to play one of your favorite maps, and let's say if it's Emerald Plains, it gets banned a lot, now you have a better chance of playing that map. It also fixed the problem of people not wanting to play the new map, because at some point they're going to have to learn that map, and it will give everyone that plays ranked more variety when it comes to maps. If you've been following Pro League recently, you can see a lot of people complaining about a defender-sided meta, which I kind of find funny. It's very simple. The defenders have an edge, and the attackers don't have enough to deal with it. So a very simple way to fix this is if they have the ability to ban 3 defenders and 3 attackers. I originally saw this idea from Alka on Twitter, and honestly, I actually really like it and kind of want it to be in the game now. So that's 10 things that I would like to see in Year 9 of Siege. Whether Ubisoft will actually add all 10 of these, or at least one of these, I don't know, honestly. But I'm hoping we see some good things on the Year 9 roadmap, because at the beginning of Year 8, we actually had a pretty strong start, and then it kind of fell off. So hopefully Ubisoft can make some good changes to this game, but only time will tell. And with all that said, that's the end of the video. If you like what I make, I appreciate it if you subscribe, and with all that said, I hope you have a good day or good night, and goodbye.